Hello, happy Friday. My name is Blake Cadwell. I am the founder of Soundly. I'm a bona fide hearing aid nerd. I spend all of my time researching this topic and learning more about the hearing health space. And today, I've got some really big news to talk to you about. Some of the biggest news, really, that's occurred in the hearing health space for decades, and that is that the FDA finally, after 5 years of waiting, released their final ruling that will allow hearing aids to be sold over the counter without the assistance of a hearing professional. This is big news in a lot of different ways. We're going to talk about a few of those ways. And what I want to do is I'm just going to share with you some of my research. I've obviously been researching this and paying a lot of attention to it all week long. Got a handful of tabs open that I'll just share with you. And then I'm going to walk you through a blog post that I published yesterday and give you a little bit of commentary on what I think is the most interesting about this change, as well as a handful of brands that I think are likely to be the first brands that will be available over the counter and in retail environments. So this is the post that started it all. On Tuesday morning, the FDA published this page announcing to the world that over-the-counter hearing aids would be available and that they had finalized their ruling. We'll get into the history in just a minute, but this is the page that kicked it all off. If you go to this page, you can actually see a full link to the ruling. This document, you can download it as a PDF, but it's 130 pages long. Lots of definitions, details about labeling, responses to a number of questions that consumers and the industry put forward during the kind of comment period that the FDA had opened last year. So very in-depth document. Is almost certainly going to take some time for the industry to process it. But we now have something concrete, which allows innovation and allows a reaction within the hearing health space. So of course, moments after this was published, you started to see a whole lot of news, starting with a statement from the president who shared why this is important and how it might affect everyday consumers. You saw the New York Times, NPR, cable news, a whole gamut of coverage kind of across the spectrum in the news world. And I'm sure you probably saw something come up this week. So lots of news, lots of buzz, lots of conversation. A couple of days ago, I sat down to try to digest it all and synthesize, I guess, what I'm seeing and what I think it might mean for consumers. So I'm going to walk you through a blog post that I published just a couple of days ago and talk to you about some of the key themes that I'm noticing, and then some of the brands that I think are best positioned in this space. So this is the blog post. You can read it at hearsoundly.com, which is my blog. But let's start with a quick history on why we're even here and what got us to this point. I'll go very quickly. It's of course a complex topic. There's a lot that's happened, but it really starts actually back in 1979. Hearing aids were not regulated by the FDA at that point. The hearing space had become a wild west. There were a lot of crazy claims, and people were advertising falsely in different ways. The FDA came in, established a guideline, and an unintended consequence of that guideline was that hearing access began to become more difficult to get, and hearing aid prices began to increase significantly. So much so that as of today, the average price of hearing aids in the United States is around $4,500, and most people pay that out of pocket every few years. So this obviously has caused a lot of frustration for consumers and consumer advocacy groups for a long time. In 2016, the FDA put out an announcement. They said, we're not going to enforce the requirement to get a medical evaluation before you purchase hearing aids anymore. We're kind of pausing on this because we're going to look at this a little bit more closely. Then in 2017, Congress gets involved. Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Grassley introduced a bill. It was passed in July and August through Congress and the Senate. In August, President Donald Trump signed the bill and gave the FDA 3 years to put forward official rules that would govern this new category of hearing aids, over-the-counter hearing aids. Of course, during that 3 years, COVID hit and everything went on pause. And so, it was kind of crickets for through 2020 and into 2021 until in July of 2021, President Biden signed an executive order that said we need to address this and we need draft rules within the next 120 days. And the FDA responded and they put a draft out last October. They then had a comment period where manufacturers and industry players and consumers were able to weigh in on that draft until January. And then between January and this Tuesday, we've been waiting just to see what the FDA would put forward as the final guidelines, the final ruling. And it's here. So that's where we stand. You can see a bit more on the sort of the timeline in the blog post if you want to look at that further. So you might be wondering, what is an over-the-counter hearing aid? I think a lot of folks are still going to be figuring this out in the exact details of how the industry will define over-the-counter hearing aids, but there are a few things that are very clear. So one is that an over-the-counter hearing aid will not require a visit to an audiologist online or in person. It is something that you could purchase off the shelf at CVS or on a website directly and have it shipped to your home. And in most cases, over-the-counter hearing aids are going to be self-programmed or self-fit in some way. So imagine you're going to use your phone. Your phone is going to become the test, the format for the test, and also the format for programming your hearing aids to match your particular hearing loss. What we're almost certainly going to see is that brands are going to sell directly to the consumer in places like Best Buy, Walgreens. I know we'll be carrying a number of OTC products on Soundly.com, and consumers will be able to purchase that without ever talking to a doctor. Now, this brings up an important question, which is what about personal sound amplifiers, which has been a sort of challenging category of products for the industry for a very long time. I actually wanted to share with you. So if I search hearing aids on Amazon today, this is the page that I get back. And it's a whole bunch of products I've never heard of. Some of these have thousands of reviews. Some of them don't have many at all. Many of these products are not at all customizable to your hearing loss. They are preset where they have 4 or 5 different programs, but they're going to make things the same amount louder for everybody, regardless of that person's hearing loss. And that's a big problem because consumers can actually hurt themselves or certainly just waste their money on something that's not really going to help them in more dynamic situations. I worry about the quality of the reviews on many of these products. I know there are a number of review schemes, and ultimately, I think personal sound amplifiers have not served customers very well for a long time. The good news is the FDA has put forward some guidelines that describe what a personal sound amplifier is and what an OTC hearing aid is, that I think will strip away a lot of the sort of mess that has been personal sound amplifiers. So who are OTC hearing aids for? This one's important. It is, OTC hearing aids are targeted at those who have mild to moderate hearing loss. If you're not sure what kind of hearing loss you have, there are a number of online hearing tests. I could link some of them in the description below. But if you have mild to moderate hearing loss, OTC hearing aids could be for you. If you have severe or profound hearing loss or you're under 18, you certainly should see a doctor and work with them to figure out something that is customized to your needs. All right, so let's talk about products. New class of products. Which brands are likely to jump in? Which ones are already there? One thing that makes this category a little bit interesting is that the industry has been predicting the move towards over-the-counter products for a number of years. So some products are already acting essentially as over-the-counter products. They just haven't had that official designation. This will make those products official. So let's talk about 4 products. A little bit more than 4. We'll talk about a few products that are likely to become leaders in the OTC hearing aid space. So one is Bose. Bose, sort of a long story. You can read a whole review on my blog if you want to, but they launched a product. They sold it on Bose.com starting last year. It's self-fit. You customize it using your app. I love this product. I just wore it on vacation. It's great quality in my opinion. It's simple. It doesn't have Bluetooth. It's not the kind of fanciest hearing aid you can buy, but I think it's very respectable. I like the app. I think this is a great product, and I do think it will be very competitive in a retail environment. And I'd recommend to anybody who's looking for an affordable product, this is a great one to look at. It's $899 right now online, and you can buy it on Soundly, or you can buy it through Bose's partners at Lexi, who provide the customer service and care for the product. So Bose will be one for sure. Eargo's another one. Very innovative product. It's very miniaturized. You can see how small this product is on the screen. It's truly invisible. Someone has to look directly into your ear to know you're wearing it. Similar to Bose, this one is programmed through your phone, so you don't need to see a doctor in order to customize and program this hearing aid. Built from scratch, really innovative brand. I recommend it for people who are fairly comfortable with technology and able to manipulate an app, or those who really are interested in an invisible product. The third one is MD Hearing. This one's an older company. They've been around for 10 or so years. I think they've sold over 500,000 products. They historically sold sound amplifiers. They have recently shifted into selling hearing aids that are customized through a phone app. It's a good quality product. I'm sure that they will position themselves as a leader in the over-the-counter space. I put Lively in here. This is a little bit of a cheat because Lively is not actually an over-the-counter hearing aid. Their products are still customized by a professional, but I added them into this list because if you're looking for a disruptive model of care, and you aren't sure you want to do it yourself on an app, Lively is a great in-between. Their product starts at around $1,100 for a pair, so fairly affordable compared to the national average. And they still program your hearing aids for you and then ship them through the mail. And that's how they achieve that lower price. So great company to look at if you're looking for something direct to consumer, but you're not sure you want to fully go the over-the-counter route and would like to have a doctor involved. And then a couple that are coming soon. Jabra almost certainly will release their Jabra Enhance Plus product over the counter. They already have this product out in the world. I was wearing it to listen to music this morning. And the Jabra Enhance Plus product has a phone app like many of these other products that allows you to take a test and customize the hearing aid components to your hearing loss. And then Nuheara is a company that's been around for a while. I don't know exactly what their plans are related to over-the-counter, but I assume they will want to release an over-the-counter style hearing aid. Right now they have a hybrid earbud that provides some sound boost, but I don't believe would be categorized fully as a over-the-counter hearing aid at this point. So these are a couple of brands to be on the lookout for. So that's it. Those are the brands that we're expecting. I think it's a very exciting time for the hearing health world. It's a very exciting time for consumers. And I hope you found this video informative. I'm sure I'll record more on the topic. But it's been an exciting week for anyone interested in hearing health. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.